No one in the ballroom wanted to be the first person to walk over to her, and somehow, that made the silence more cruel than any insult ever could. The annual Hope Harbor Foundation fundraiser was taking place inside one of the most luxurious ballrooms in Boston. Crystal chandeliers cast their glow over expensive suits and elegant evening gowns. Laughter and conversation filled the room as politicians, business leaders, and some of the most prominent families in New England mingled beneath the sparkling lights. Then Amelia Hart walked in. The room seemed to pause for a few seconds, not because she lacked beauty, but because the scars stretching from her neck down her right arm left many people unsure of where to look. The conversations grew quieter. A few guests quickly looked away. Men who had been confidently speaking with business partners suddenly lifted their wine glasses or pretended to check their phones. Amelia was already used to it. The smile on her face remained flawless, but deep in her eyes was the exhaustion of someone who had spent far too long being treated like a tragic story. Behind the stage, Noah Bennett was still checking on the progress of the event. He was nothing more than the catering manager, an ordinary man working tirelessly to keep up with the medical bills his mother still owed. When the band announced the formal dance, couples began making their way onto the dance floor. Only Amelia remained standing alone. Noah noticed. He also noticed dozens of other people noticing, but no one moved. His supervisor quietly reminded him to get back to work. Noah ignored him. He stepped onto the ballroom floor. With every step, more heads turned in his direction. When he finally stopped in front of Amelia, he calmly extended his hand, not as if he were approaching the daughter of a billionaire, but as if he were simply inviting an ordinary woman to dance. Amelia froze for a moment, and for the first time that evening, the loneliness in her eyes disappeared. She placed her hand in his, and the entire ballroom fell silent. The next morning, Noah barely touched his breakfast. The call from Hart Industries had come completely out of nowhere. During the entire drive to the company headquarters overlooking Boston Harbor, only one possibility ran through his mind. He had crossed a line. A catering manager like him had no business stepping onto the dance floor with the daughter of the most powerful man at the gala. When the office door opened, Richard Hart was standing beside a floor-to-ceiling window overlooking the city. He wasn't smiling, but he didn't seem angry either. That silence made Noah even more nervous. Then the powerful businessman slowly asked a single question. "Why did you ask Amelia to dance?" Noah answered without hesitation. "Because no one deserves to stand alone like that." The room fell quiet. A few seconds later, Richard gave a slight nod. Then he told Noah a story that most people had long forgotten. 5 years earlier, a massive fire had broken out in one of the family's warehouses. Amelia had run straight into the flames to save her younger brother. He survived. She carried the scars for the rest of her life. For a while, the media called her a hero. But when the headlines disappeared, so did the admiration. All that remained were sympathetic glances and uncomfortable stares. What surprised Noah most was the truth hidden within the Hart family itself. The brother whose life had been saved had never once publicly acknowledged Amelia's sacrifice. The guilt he carried made it impossible for him to face her. Year after year, an invisible distance grew between them. Before the meeting ended, Richard made an offer that would change Noah's life. He wanted him to join the family's charitable foundation, not because of his event management skills, not because of his professional experience, but because the night before, for the first time in many months, Amelia had smiled when she said his name. 1 year later, the same ballroom was illuminated once again, but this time, everything was different. The Hope Harbor Foundation had just announced the expansion of its burn survivor support programs across New England. Hundreds of families had received help. Dozens of people who had spent years hiding in shame were finally stepping back into public life. And the person behind that transformation was Amelia Hart. When she entered the ballroom, the familiar silk scarf that once concealed her scars was gone. There were no hesitant steps, no lowered gaze, no attempts to disappear. She walked calmly through the crowd like someone who had finally accepted every part of who she was. From the far end of the room, Noah watched her. He remembered the lonely woman she had once been. He remembered the exhaustion hidden in her eyes on the night they first met. Then Amelia stepped onto the stage. The entire ballroom fell silent. With a steady voice, she spoke about the months when she had wanted to disappear from the world. She spoke about what it felt like to be pitied more often than understood. She spoke about the painful truths hidden within her own family. Then something unexpected happened. Her younger brother rose from his seat in the front row. Tears streamed down his face. For the first time in years, he publicly thanked his sister for saving his life. His apology left the entire room speechless. Even Richard Hart could not hide his emotions. As applause echoed throughout the ballroom, the band began playing a familiar melody. Amelia did not wait for someone to approach her. Instead, she walked directly toward Noah. She smiled. Then she extended her hand. 1 year earlier, he had crossed the entire ballroom to find her. Tonight, it was her turn to walk toward him. Surrounded by shimmering lights and endless applause, Amelia softly said, "The first night, you gave me courage. Tonight, you gave me freedom." And this time, no one was looking at her scars. They were looking at a strong woman who had finally conquered the pain that once tried to define her.